Not too long. Let's give this sucker a read. All right. So from Video Gamer, an article by Lewis White, Fallout 1 and 2 source code isn't actually lost, reveals former Interplay founder, despite orders to destroy all assets. Earlier this week, I'm not sure what week this was, May 2nd, 2025. Oh, that's actually pretty recent. Okay. So, like yesterday. So earlier this week, apparently, we released a story that the source code and in-development assets for both Fallout and Fallout 2 were lost. Again, that's not necessarily the case. According to series creator Tim Kaine, and as far as he knew, the source codes for both of the original games were destroyed. However, that's not the case. I could have sworn that Leonard Boyarsky actually had a copy somewhere. But anyway, speaking to Video Gamer, Interplay Productions founder and game designer Rebecca Heineman revealed that she not only kept the source code for both of the original Fallout games, but a slew of the other Interplay releases as well. After reaching out to Video Gamer, Heineman explained that they started preserving the source code of games at the company after working on Interplay's 10-year Anthology Classic Collection, a compilation of the company's games from 1983 to 1993. At the time, the programmer needed the source code for a number of titles, including Fallout's predecessor Wasteland. But after seeing firsthand how poor the preservation of games was back then, she made sure to keep everything backed up. So I will try and do a female voice here for a second. I have the source to all my projects, so most games I got running on the CD without issue, the programmer told Video Gamer. Wasteland was ported to PC by someone else, so I asked for the source and was given a blank stare. I went to the COO's office and he gave me a cardboard box that looked like it was run over by a truck, and it had some of the source on floppies. I ended up contacting friends at Electronic Arts to get a copy of the source. We sent them when Wasteland shipped. Okay, that's for Wasteland. Interesting. Interplay had a reputation of threatening ex-employees with litigation if they were poached and if they had assets taken home. Interplay and MacPlay founder Rebecca Heineman quoted as saying, "Yes, I can see that being the case." After this event, Heineman snapshotted every release she worked on, including the macOS ports of both original Fallout games. Nice. As she needed the game's original source code for the ports, both games are properly preserved up to M-Disc Blu-rays for long-term storage. Onto, I think is what that's supposed to be. But anyway, I made it a quest to snapshot everything and archive it on CD-ROMs, Heineman explained. When I left Interplay in 1995, I had copies of every game we did. No exceptions. When I did MacPlay, which existed beyond my tenure at Interplay, every game we ported, I snapshotted. It included Fallout 1 and 2. Okay, so that means she might actually have the last version of Fallout 2, so like the fully 1.4 version. The release of this compilation may have saved Fallout 1 and 2 from being completely lost. I can see that being the case. Is this really? Or is this an old compilation? When was this released? Now, Kaine's comments on why the source code was assumed to be lost were not without merit at all. Heineman explained that Interplay management did order the destruction of property for anyone who left the company, including Kaine. I mean, he left before Fallout 2 was complete, so that's a little while ago. But anyway, Interplay had issues with people leaving the firm, and if you quit, they got testy, she explained. I was a founder, so when I left, I kept everything. Now, on Fallout, I did the Mac port for my company, MacPlay. So I have everything, including the source code to Fallout 1 and 2. Now, I don't have Tim's notes or other work-in-progress files, but the source code is not lost. Interplay had a reputation of threatening ex-employees with litigation if they were poached, and if they had assets taken home, they continued. However, they had no leg to stand on, which was why a suit was never filed on anyone. They had no legal leg to stand on. If they did have a legal leg to stand on, I would have been sued into last week. She can manage source code of Fallout as well. Maybe she has some sort of file password. Well, this right here, that's what they're saying. This Interplay's 10-year anniversary, Fallout 1 and 2 obviously must have been part of it. So Interplay itself handed them all the source code so they can make Mac versions. That's what was happening. From what I'm getting here, well, they left Interplay in 95. They started MacPlay, which was like a partner company. And so Interplay would give her the source code, and then she would convert, or not convert, but make the game compatible with Mac, right? So you need the source code for that. You can't just, I mean, you might be able to write a wrapper around it and make things really awkward and weird and really slow, but the best way to do it, of course, is to manipulate the source code and write a version that works on Mac explicitly. It compiles down to Mac version. So that's what they were doing, which is the correct way to do it, obviously. And when they did that, when she was given the original source code so that she could make the actual Mac version, she just made backup copies. Seems like a perfectly reasonable approach to me. Okay, releasing Fallout source code. The Fallout and Fallout 2 source code is still kept privately by Heineman, but there is a desire to release them. Yeah. As the programmer explained, she can't simply release the game's source codes to the wild as they are actively sold products protected under copyright. Okay, now, if Heineman kept them, I wonder if Leonard Boyarsky knew about it, and that's why he made that comment about having the source code. I'm curious about that. But anyway, in the past, the programmer publicly released her part of Doom to the 3DO on GitHub, But Fallout is a little more complicated. Yeah, Doom is officially open source, so I guess that's probably okay. Boyarsky slipped. Yeah, but I mean, like, was he referring to this? I know there was a little bit of pushback when I first talked about it, and I made that little short video about the source code wasn't lost.
I have all the source code.
So I don't know if Boyarsky slipped, that's a good question, or if I'm just mistaken. Like, maybe he slipped because he actually had the source code because he got it from Rebecca Heineman here, and he's just like, oops, I didn't mean to let the cat out of the bag.
I would just like to point out, though, we did not take any source code from Interplay when we left. We came upon it much later.
Maybe I'm just mistaken myself. Like, I don't know. I don't know for sure on that one. I kind of wish I did, but oh well. Anyway, Fallout is a little more complicated. Art data was totally defunct. I wrote the code, so I gave myself permission, and I asked id Software, and they said, sure. Fallout would require permission from Bethesda, which, you know, without Bethesda sometimes. I hadn't gone around to asking them. They are on my list, they explained. I need express permission to release, despite the source code being pretty much obsolete, Heineman replied when we asked why the game's source code hasn't been uploaded to the internet. Which is a good question. But we know the issue is Bethesda. And in fact, there's been a previous article, not from here necessarily, where Bethesda publicly stated they had the source code because it was quote-unquote recovered from one of the hard drives or something like that. And this was only about a month or two after Leonard Boyarsky's slip on that live stream.
We came upon it much later.
So that makes me wonder if Bethesda is willing to allow it to be made public, or if Bethesda is actually working on a remaster of it. It would be nice if they did at least one of the two. I'm not really up on how copyright law works, but it's somewhat frustrating how much of the old games that we used to play as kids are basically being removed, deleted from the internet. Anyway, so let me keep going here. Both Fallout and Fallout 2 received a Mac port via MacPlay, a brand that Heineman is reviving for modern Mac OS users, which that's the logo for MacPlay. I have over 1,000 games in my archives. Look for releases this and every year moving forward, Interplay and MacPlay founder Rebecca Heineman. Interesting. Really? 1,000 games. Wow. The return of MacPlay. As for why that conversation with Bethesda hasn't taken place, the simple answer is time. Time and whether or not Bethesda will return your phone calls. Heineman is currently in the midst of bringing MacPlay back, working to bring native ports, quotes, of casual and AAA games to the Mac, unquotes, just like she did back in the 90s. The opportunity dropped in my lap a few years back, and it took a long time to negotiate the deal, the programmer said. I'm one of the people at Interplay who championed the creation of MacPlay in the first place, so it has meaning to me. Also, there is a dearth of games on the Mac, true, and I'm a Mac programmer, so it's a great match. I hope it is. As for Heineman's penchant for games preservation, the programmer has kept a ton of titles, ton spelled British-wise anyway, a ton of titles safe with plans to release titles that are appropriate or legally allowed. Hopefully, Bethesda will allow the source code for Fallout and Fallout 2 to live online, which in turn would give fans more freedom to bring the games to other systems. On the other hand, maybe Bethesda could do something else with the game, such as a proper remaster that runs well on modern systems. Sadly, Fallout creator Tim Kane's other worries about the game's in-development assets being scrapped are still true. While Heineman's work on MacPlay allowed her to back up the game's source code, which might include the scripts, that's a good point, that doesn't say explicitly here, she wasn't involved in the game's early development to back up a ton of assets. But maybe someone else has those backed up somewhere? Good question. I wish somebody knew. This is a YouTube channel, so you're welcome to comment in the chat and let me know if that's the case. She has her own YouTube channel, talks about coding stuff in some of her memories as well. Drop a link, man. Drop a link. About the author, Lewis White is a veteran games journalist with a decade of experience writing news, reviews, features, and investigative pieces about game development with a focus on Halo and Xbox. All right, well, that is interesting and very new news that I was not aware of. May 2nd, 2025. Crazy. Thank you. Let me give Rebecca Heineman a follow. A subscribe. There we go. Well, maybe they'll stream again and answer some questions. Good question. Good, interesting point on that one. No clue. Okay, so officially the source code is publicly available. It's not publicly. Officially, the source code has not been lost. So somebody is doing their job, their moral duty, as it were, of preserving the original Fallout 1 and 2 source code, which is awesome. Sadly, Bethesda are the people who are technically, legally allowed to do anything with it right now. So we have to wait on Bethesda to provide a response, and there's probably not going to be enough outcry to Todd Howard to give us a response for Fallout 1 and 2. I just can't see Todd Howard caring enough. Maybe he will. I hope he does, but who knows? Is the source code really that helpful? I mean, we have the reverse engineered source code. I mean, I found a couple bugs in the reverse engineered source code. so I can assume that they're in the original source code, but it's helpful for remastering. It's helpful for modding. It's helpful for a bunch of situations to have the original source code. I think Fallout 2 has got a last patch in 2003-ish, right? That's about right. I think it's 2002, 2003. Hope she has that version. Probably. It's a good question. I don't know. Either way, the patch itself is just a small part of the source code, so it's probably okay either way.
You see a burly bounty hunter with a button that reads,
Ah.
"I'm Christopher and your meat." What do you want? None of your business.
Oh my god.
What do you want? Well, go poke around somewhere else. What do you want? We don't appreciate wise guys here. Buzz off.
All right, man. That is decent enough.